I'll hit the nail on the head. Before now, I did not like Adela. And I'm not using didn't like as some soft way of saying I hated her, because I didn't. I just didn't get her. I didn't understand her enough to root for her. And honestly, I had reasons. Reasons a lot of people still bring up today. Some still trash her for calling out Manon during the Dream Academy survival show. Others say she's a copycat. But the biggest one is that Adela is an industry plant. This is the one I couldn't shake. I know everyone has got their own interpretation of what that even means. But for me, the signs were there and I believed it for a long time too. Her rise to stardom felt way too clean and too perfectly packaged for a newbie. In an industry where most people grind for years just to get noticed, she went from eliminated trainee to signed artist with a sold out tour in under 2 years. It looked sus, because that doesn't just happen. Duh, right? Here's more sus stuff about Adela I still think about. One, in the Superstar music video, one of her Dream Academy dance coaches appears as a backup dancer, and I'm surprised it's not talked about as much as I expected, because to me, that's not a coincidence you just brush off. Two, she's signed by Capitol Records, which, by the way, is under the same umbrella as Geffen, the label behind KATSEYE and Dream Academy. It still feels like she's a product of the documentary, even if she's not in the actual group, which is KATSEYE. I don't know how to put it perfectly for you to understand, but that too seems sus because, yes, the survival show was specifically created to form KATSEYE. But what if the execs became greedy and saw other opportunities they couldn't just throw away, like Adela, and decided to bank on it? I mean, the new group, Prelude, has members from the show as well. So to me, it's all kind of sus. Three, her videos look like $1 million shoots. The visuals, the color grading, the styling, it's top tier. Way too clean for someone supposedly self-funding her work. You don't expect that level of execution from an independent artist, unless there's big backing behind the scenes, which in this case, I strongly believe there is. Also, remember back in the documentary, the judges basically hinted she'd go solo, and even though she got eliminated, the way they edited her story felt like a foreshadowing, like they knew she was going solo and wanted to plant that seed in viewers' minds. And then she dropped music right when the documentary dropped. That kind of timing doesn't happen by accident. It feels coordinated and too calculated. I could go on, but honestly, the main point here is everything regarding Adela's solo career feels too orchestrated. And in an industry where we've seen real plants get pushed, looking at you Ice Spice and the endless Disney pipelines, I wasn't crazy for thinking this. And I believe a lot of you thought of this too. But here's where I had to eat my words. I did my homework. I actually sat down, rewatched her interviews, studied her career moves, and what I found changed everything. The plant theory started to gradually fall apart, because I believe Adela wasn't just lucky. She was trained for this. Before the Dream Academy, Adela was a professional ballet dancer. And if you know ballet, you know it's one of the most brutal, disciplined art forms on the planet. Ballet teaches you perfection under pressure, grace in pain, endurance through exhaustion, and discipline even when no one's watching. That mindset bleeds into everything she does now, her choreography, visuals, and the way she handles criticism. When Dream Academy fans came for her after the Manon situation, the copycat talk, the hate trains, she didn't spiral. She performed through it. Smile through the bruise, execute under fire. It would also excite you to know that she was already a creator, even before the show. Adela was writing her own music long before Dream Academy. In the documentary, you can literally see her performing original songs. Whatever we see in her right now wasn't birthed out of some label experiment. It was already in her DNA. Homewrecked, her debut song, was inspired by her father's affair and her mother's death from cancer. A raw, personal story. Superstar and Machine Girl, later follow-ups, dig into the industry itself, about being objectified, boxed in, expected to fit a brand. These are works of an artist, processing pain through art. And long before Capital came along, she was already grinding on TikTok and Instagram, posting, promoting, performing. She built a following. She didn't wait for someone to hand her one. Now this is the tricky part. The plant timeline doesn't add up. Capital signed her in mid-2025. Yeah, it looks sus on paper. Jeffen's sister label signing her right after she goes solo. But labels don't sign artists out of pity. I believe they signed out of momentum. You see what I mentioned earlier about her early ballet training, handling criticism and hate like a pro, and being an original creative and not being afraid to put herself out there was all Adela building a public resume without her knowing. Or maybe she did know, because now looking at all that has happened, she was ripe for Capital to sign. By that point, Adela already had a viral song, Homewrecked, a Netflix doc boost. She had a co-sign from Grimes, a growing social media fan base. A proven ability to deliver on her own and proof that she could handle all the entertainment world had to throw at her love, hate, criticism, and all of that. I believe Capital didn't create her, they invested in her. That's not planting. That's a good business. Adele is not a product, she's a strategist. She didn't just make music, she made moves. Whether or not she had help, I believe. One, she timed everything perfectly. Dropping Home Wrecked during the show's hype wasn't manipulation, it was smart marketing. She used the system that overlooked her to launch herself. Two, she built real relationships. That dance teacher in her video, not a conspiracy. Networking. She formed real creative bonds, and they supported her after the show. That's what surviving in this industry actually looks like. Plus, Emily also choreographed one of her songs. Proof that she's a good networker and knows how to keep her network and use them to her advantage. Plus, she's still friends with the KATSEYE girlies Megan. 3. She carved her own lane. Instead of chasing KATSEYE's pop polish, she went darker, edgier, hyperpop, glitchy, emotional. She didn't copy them, she contrasted them. 4. She writes. She's credited as a writer on songs like Machine Girl and Home Wrecked. That means she's not just performing what's handed to her, she's building it from scratch. So what changed my mind fully about Adele? When you step back and really look at Adele's journey, you realize the polish isn't proof of manipulation, it's proof of mastery. She's not an industry plant. She's a performer who planted herself to be harvested early. Ballet gave her discipline. The hate gave her resilience. And her mind gave her strategy. Most Dream Academy girls had the same exposure. Most TikTok stars had their own viral moment. But how many handled the backlash, the rumors, and the comparisons like Adele did or tried to build a career around it and survived? Very few. She didn't just survive, it refined her. The bottom line is, you can only go so far on talent. What takes you the rest of the way is character. And Adele has both. She's earned her spot not because the industry pushed her, but because she kept showing up when it would have been easier to quit. She used her pain as art, her training as armor, and her intelligence as strategy. So yeah, maybe her rise looked too good to be true. But that's only because she made it look that way. That's what great performers do. She's not an industry plant. She's the gardener, and she's growing exactly where she planted herself.